Welcome everyone to our November Parks Board meeting. I will start by reading the appeal of decisions. Pursuant to the provisions of 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ of certiorari. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the Board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. I am going to go out of order for new business. We're going to go to 11-1802. Board to acknowledge Ms. Sharon Gentry as a member of the Parks Board representing the Metro School Board, replacing Ms. Jill Spearing during Ms. Spearing's temporary leave of absence, effective October 10, 2008. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
A second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Welcome to the board. Sharon, glad to have you.
I can turn my car off. No, I'm just kidding.
Now we'll move to the consideration of minutes, assuming everyone's read them. Are there any changes? Motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Metro Council referrals, I saw John Cooper. Who else is here from the council? Anyone else? Welcome, John. And we'll move to old business, 10-1803. The Mayor's Office in Giratana, LLC requests board approval for the swap of two parcels of land known as Church Street Park and 301 James Robertson Parkway, and acceptance of $2 million from Giratana, LLC for development of a new park at 301 James Robertson Parkway. Ask for a committee update.
The Acquisitions Committee met Friday and voted 3-3, which means we have no recommendation to this board.
So that leaves it to this board to make a decision today, and so we have this old business matter, and I entertain a motion. If someone would like to make one.
I'll make a motion to approve as I did, I think, the first time, I believe.
We have a motion on the floor.
Approval of.
Yes.
Approval of 10-1803.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. We're open for discussion. Would anyone like to say anything? Michelle? Is there any discussion? Oh, the way you looked at me, I thought you wanted to.
Just looking at expectations.
So we had the committee meeting on Friday and had a lot of discussion then. There was a big crowd here. And so it's up to the board. Sharon, you weren't here. I don't know if you had any questions.
Trust me, I was here. I was here.
So the floor is open for discussion.
I do have a question, if that's okay, for the mayor's office. Is that okay?
That is okay.
Okay, it's come up that there's possible acquisition and interest in the publishing board, the building adjacent to the land swap. And so I wanted to ask you to address the board and talk about how that plays into the plans for the swap. The mayor did mention that the park would be better than it is currently, that it would be a celebration of the artifacts that are possibly under the parking structure there. Just wanted to ask that question. And I'm looking at you, Brian, because you've been our guy. But it could be anybody.
You might want to move that one chair there.
Should we just pull the podium out?
Yeah, but Brian, just move with the outside.
All right, how's that? Brian Kelsey, Chief Strategy Officer for Mayor Briley's office. That is correct. We are in preliminary discussions with the National Baptist Convention about the future of that building. I don't really have anything to report at this time except for a mutually expressed interest with the current owners on trying to do everything we can to preserve that building because it has significant historic value for the city, and we believe it could be a strong asset if we're able to obtain the parking lot next door and build a park that could complement the building there. That's all I'm really comfortable saying at this time about it.
Okay, that's fair. That's my only question, I'm sorry.
Any questions or comments?
So Council Lady Henderson referenced funding. I went back and read Plan to Play last night, a 200-page document. At the very end on page 202, it talks about achieving the goals of the Plan to Play will require an increase in Metro funding while Metro Parks simultaneously diversifies its revenue streams, not to replace Metro funds, but to supplement them. So I would tell you, Council Lady Henderson, we are asking for more money. We haven't gotten it. And one of my main concerns about this is if we can't care for Church Street Park, how are we going to have the resources to care for a new park on James Robertson Parkway? I think that's a huge challenge at this point in time. And if this board approves it today, I would recommend modifying the recommendation to include, one, a clawback if the developer ever goes to sell the land, which is important, and two, that if Mr. Giotana never builds the tower to generate the property tax revenues, he is committed to service the debt for the homeless center, that he guarantee that property tax obligation. I think that's a major financial obligation that the city's using to help get this passed. This tower may never get built, and so I think that's something the board should consider.
So my understanding is that, and this is not related to your comment, Jeff, is that if we pass this today, there will be several other steps that will happen. So supporting this resolution today keeps the process going, but there are many other steps in the journey before it's completed. And I feel comfortable in supporting this because it is a solution. It may not be the best solution, but it is the only solution that we have on the table right now. And I think it would be short-sighted not to let it move forward from this body. We're not the final say.
So the next step is in council, so.
Right. And the planning commission.
In planning, right.
And I think some of the concerns about whether it's built or not would happen in planning. That's my understanding. So.
I'll address that issue. I do feel like it will go through additional steps, but we are the Parks Board, and our responsibility, as I see it, is to protect and enhance our parks and our park systems. Gosh, this is a really difficult decision. I do respect so many people who are on both sides of this issue, and I think that in particular makes this even more challenging. I echo what Mr. Haynes had said last week about the process, and I think that was the simplest way of saying my biggest concerns have to do with the process of how we've gotten here today, that allowing the first person to come who has a proposal to have an uncontested bid at this proposal doesn't sit well with me, and I think that the public has had difficulty in the past with complicated land deals that have come forward over the past 24 months. So I think that to me is the biggest issue. I do think also that we're trading down. I don't think we are solving the problem if the failure of the park has to do with an overpopulation of people experiencing homelessness. I think we will have that same issue in the new park. And, it's a triangular shape. The parcel is surrounded by busy roads and all roads on all sides. I think there's just many reasons to believe that this is trading down. I also referenced the plan to play. I mean, that was completed just a year ago. So if we're following the plan to play, which was community-led and had thousands of people participating, and the result that came from that said increasing public space downtown, increasing pocket parks, and here we are trading and trading down. I don't feel like we're living up to the master plan. And if we deviate from that, and I understand that there are times when master plans need to be deviated from, then maybe we as a board need to look at how we make those decisions and what exactly are we basing the exceptions on. I do want to talk about the funding. I'm very aware that if we decide, if the Church Street Park stays as it is, that the all eyes are on the park, on this park and the Parks Department to change the status quo, and that's a huge amount of responsibility. And I think that puts this park in a tight spot. But I also have faith in our Nashville community and maybe some untapped resources in the private sector that are not driven by development, but maybe in the philanthropic dollars that could come. There's been so much support that I've heard from the public saying that they want the park to remain, that I feel optimistic that Nashville could rise to the occasion and help make this a successful park, and I think that's possible. So for those reasons, I can't support approving this proposal.
The other piece that I don't think we've mentioned today, and I'd just like to go on record, is that we've heard from every major property owner in the neighborhood, many, many, many neighbors, many people who work downtown, and there's certainly the neighborhood, the people that are there every day, from those that I've heard from, by and large, support this. And I think we need to take that into consideration as well.
And I think that's why I shifted my position on this, was the stakeholders there who own property, live down there, work down there, have heard overwhelmingly for this quarter piece of acre that's been a complete failure as a park. And from being on the board for 10 years, it has been a disaster from day one, and anybody who works down there has made a point to support this. I'm typically totally against this, but I think this is a unique situation. I think it's bigger than a parks issue. I think it's a city policy issue. I think it's homelessness. I think there's so many issues involved in this, and it's just not a parks issue. And that's why I did shift my position. But I think it's the stakeholders that have really caused me to do that. It's just a bad situation, and it's just, there's so much more to it than just a park. And I just think we need to deal with that. And I also think the Dallas-Dudley corridor is critical for that to be accomplished, even if the building's not built. And I hope council will make that a stipulation, because I think that can be park-like, and maybe replace that and reprogram it. So that's my personal opinion, on this whole matter. It's been a very difficult decision, I'll just tell you. I have great friends on this board and in this room on both sides, and it's been the most difficult decision in my 10 years on this board.
I think if this is approved today, the Parks Board and Monique and her staff are going to have a slippery slope. We're going to set a precedent to opening up parkland to the development community with higher and better uses, and we're going to get into the subjectivity of what's a failed park and what's a higher and better use for that land. And I think this is a really dangerous precedent to
I would
set.
agree with that. That's part of this difficulty of the decision. Although we haven't done it often, but we have some great examples of it working. The Lentz Center and the Health Department, HCA and Centennial Park many years ago, and getting the Omen building. So there are ways to do it. I am not for it typically, but this is just a very unique situation. So again, I go back to the difficulty personally for me on making the decision.
I agree with George. I think another thing we should remember, we have the councilman that represents that district in here, all of the ones that were here remembering, he basically said that overwhelmingly he'd had more people that were for this than against it. And that had a bearing on my thoughts on this thing. If he's the one that's supposed to be in contact with his constituents down there, and I assume he is, I get a letter from him every week almost, saying what's going on in council. I think, I don't know if the rest of you get one from him or not, but he's pretty thorough, and what he has said. So that has bearing on my thoughts on this thing. But I agree with you, George. This is a slippery slope. There's no question about it.
I think there are many stakeholders involved, and we too have to be considerate of the stakeholders where the, and I hate to call people a problem, let me say that, but where the problem will be shifted to another part of downtown. And I just feel like that's unfair because we really haven't addressed the real question. We really don't have real solutions. And so we're pushing the perceived problem down the street without a real plan. And I asked the question about the building because the mayor came to us on Friday and said that that property will be better than it is today. And so what does that mean? And so I don't have clear understanding of what that is. And it just pushes the problem down the street for me. And we didn't go through a fair process where those who were interested in possibly developing that property had an opportunity to also put their solution in the ring. So I'm reiterating that I'm against this.
So anyone else before we take a vote?
Yeah. So, and I think that as you listen, the ultimate challenge with this is I think we're not clear on what this fundamentally, I think we're not articulating it as what it fundamentally is. It fundamentally isn't any different from the Lent Center and the deal with HCA. It's a land swap. It is not an issue, a problem to solve homelessness, because changing it is only, to Dr. Steele's point, is going to move that population or give an alternate location for that population to congregate. So however we're voting, I hope we're not voting as a solution for homelessness. So let's be clear about that. What I'm not clear about is the addressing of so just a simple answer. Will the publishing board building remain? There's 3 blinks or 2 blinks, I don't know.
We can't promise it.
Well, I'm not sure exactly how to answer that because we don't own that property. And I think there's a discussion with the property owners going on right now about the future of the publishing board building. It's something the administration, I think the city has a very strong interest in keeping. There's a lot of historic value there, and we see the benefits of combining the history of that building with a new potential park next door across the street from the witness walls. We feel like that's a pretty compelling point in favor of this proposal, but we don't own the building, so I can't make any promises about the future of it.
I was just curious. So then there's that piece, and I definitely hear that it's not an apples to apples with regards to space and location and things of that. So I think the fundamental question is, is this board okay with giving up green space for a high-rise building? Because because no one can, to the point earlier, there's different levels of discussion that have to happen further to see, is there going to be enough money to support the homeless initiative around the units for housing. But I will tell you that the population of people that are congregating in Church Street Park are not the people that are going to be taking advantage of those units. Again, so I just think we need to be clear that what we're voting on simply is giving up a piece of property that has not been successful as a park for an alternate use.
So if we determine that this park is not going to work at Church Street, do we not have an obligation to the city to make the hard decision to say it doesn't work, declare this surplus, go through some studies, solicit bids, and instead of swapping it when we have limited resources, selling Church Street Park to the highest bidder that's in keeping with what's going on in the neighborhood, and taking those resources and using them in a resource-strapped department? Don't we have that obligation?
I think so. I think so.
Is there any further discussion? So we'll take a vote. We have a motion on the floor to approve this, 10.18.03. So all those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed?
No.
It's 4-3?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's Shay.
So the motion carries 4-3. I would like to comment and echo what Mr. Haynes said earlier out of the committee meeting and today. And we've known this on the board for a long time, and it came to light for a lot of council members the other day, and we heard it, is this department's so grossly underfunded from an operational standpoint, typically a capital standpoint, and everyone loves parks and everything's great for parks, but I encourage the council and all citizens to push for more funding because that is a big problem that we have.
Yeah.
And we get cut every year almost, and we're doing a lot with a little, and it has become a real issue, and I think this has exposed that. So hopefully some good that'll come out of this is we can get more funding for our department because it is a real problem, and I just wanted to make that comment.
And to reinforce what you're saying, I'm sad that we had let this park be failed for so long, and I'd love for us to think about being more proactive, and if we have to make hard decisions, we make them so that we're making the decisions and don't feel like
Being pushed.
yes, we
Right.
leave it up to chance, if you will.
Right.
And I'd love for us to talk further about that.
And I think those hard decisions have to involve the public and the stakeholders.
Absolutely.
I think the real travesty here is we didn't include the people in this process. Hopefully they'll be included at council in those public hearings, at planning commission in those public hearings, so that people can hear what the constituents want in this decision.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Thank you.
We'll move on to 10-1805, staff request board approval for acquisition of approximately 2.89 acres of land known as the Anthis Drive property for future development of the Cumberland River Greenway and Wharf Park. That is going to be deferred, or is in acquisition committee.
Okay.
The consent agenda, which I will consider with no objection, the entire consent agenda with one motion to approve for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda is approved. Moving on to new business. 11-1803, Mr. Dwight Hall, representing the Volunteer Horsemen's Foundation and Iroquois Steeplechase Race Committee, requests board approval of a long-range master plan to expand the Iroquois Steeplechase box seat capacity. Jim Hester is going to assist in reporting on this.
We're going to put a thumb drive in it.
The Volunteer Horsemen Association have come to us and extension of the current grandstands. They've been a tremendous partner for a long time. They pay their bills and they make a large donation to Children's Hospital. And I've got a specific set of recommendations, but I think first I'd like to hear Dwight and the horsemen talk about what they'd like to do and explain it to them.
Sure. So just briefly, and then I'm going to turn it over to Gary Parks, who's with the Parks Company and basically has done all the engineering work on it. We have had for many, many, many years a large waiting list, basically about 600 plus people on it right now. Many of them have been on it for many, many years. And so we would like to submit a proposal for a master plan to expand the boxes over a 5-year period. Gary will tell you about where the expansion is going to be and what it will consist of. But it will blend in with the existing boxes that are there and meet all whatever we have to do for the historic commission and codes and those things. As with the other boxes, we maintain the facility, the boxes that are out there now, as well as the fencing on the perimeter of the course and the grounds and the barn down there. And we about every year, last year we spent about $107,000 in maintenance out there. We also give $20,000 to Friends of Warner Park. So we try to do our part out there and be a good steward of the land. So if Gary gets his computer going, we'll bring that up, and I'll let him tell you about what we plan to do.
So we've been working on this for quite some time, just for orientation purposes. I think that's going to work. It's too bright. The existing box seats, I'll just speak here. The existing boxes are here and here in the box seat area at the steeplechase grounds. And we have evaluated this several different times over the last several years to see if there was some capability, given the waiting list of some, 600 people who have been on the waiting list, some for many, many years, to try to figure out how to accommodate more patrons in the box seat area. And so in looking at the topography and the ground that was available out there, and looking at different versions, we've looked at going this way, we've looked at going this way, and really we believe that the best idea for the expansion project is to go to the north, which gives the best view of the homestretch run and is the easiest to work topographically. The topography of the land in that area is pretty consistent with what's there now in the existing box seat areas, so there's not a huge amount of grading work to do. In evaluating this piece of the puzzle, what we were planning to do was to roll this out over a period of time. We didn't want to overbuild, do too much too fast, and so after assessing, we wanted to be able to do this as a migrating plan so that we made sure that whatever we built we could fill. The particular plan that we've got in mind right now on the lower section would mirror the old stone and earth boxes, and we've got accommodation in that plan for about 170. And then the wood boxes behind it right now have accommodation for about 110 extra boxes, and so we would do that over a number of years as we made sure we secured the demand and the funding to execute the project. All be privately funded, no obligation from Metro government or the Parks Department. So that's the general plan that we'd like to undertake.
Any questions?
The reference to the money that was donated to the Friends of Warner Parks, is that an annual gift, and is that?
Yes, we've given, we've been doing it 20-some years, and that for the past 5 years, it's been $100,000, $20,000 a year. We've been giving $20,000 a year over 20-some years.
That's great.
Anything?
So we made a motion for approval of this.
So, Jim, the department would like to approve the.
Yes, we've talked it over with the planning and maintenance people, and we've only seen the concept drawings at this point, so we would recommend approval. We would recommend approval based on seeing more complete construction documents and approval of those documents, and that those plans deal with any potential stormwater or erosion problems that may arise, that they're responsible for any impact that it may have on the area. And with those caveats, we would recommend approval.
Any further questions?
I move for approval.
We have a
On do
motion
that.
for
Does this
approval.
have to go to committee before we do that?
I don't think so.
All right.
But do we need to amend it so that the caveats are taken into consideration?
Yeah. Yes.
So, can you add that?
Yes.
So we have approval with the caveats that were just mentioned, or the stipulations. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approves.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Thank you.
I need to recuse myself on the next matter.
Okay. Yes, that's right. Okay, moving on to 11-1804, staff request board approval for application and ultimate acceptance of local Parks and Rec grant funding of the amount of $100,000 from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation for the purpose of developing Capitol View Park. Tim Naich, I think, is going to report on that.
So this is a request to permit us to apply for this funding. The match will be existing Metro funds that have already been allocated, and this would supplement the budget of that process and allow us to build everything that is actually included in the construction documents for that project.
Are there any questions? I know Mr. Haynes is going to recuse himself since he's involved with that project, so we can entertain a motion.
I move that we accept 11-1804.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. All right. Moving on to 11-1805, staff request board approval to enter into a one-year permit with the Nashville Food Project for the purpose of developing, programming, and educating the operating community gardens within designated areas of Mill Ridge Park. I think Mr. Hester is going to give another report.
So this pertains to Mill Ridge Park, and in the Mill Ridge Master Plan and the Plan to Play, there's a recommendation that we start engaging and looking into different ways to do more advanced gardening, urban farms. The Nashville Food Project has come to us with an idea about what to do with a portion of that property. It's about 2 acres of the property that's out there behind the Moore farmhouse, if you're familiar with it. And I'm going to ask the Food Project representative to give us just a brief description of what your mission is and what you'd like to do.
Hi, I'm Linda
Please come up to the podium.
This is scary. I'm Melinda Hirsch with the Nashville Food Project. We are a local nonprofit here. We're working to address issues of food access and food justice. We are seeking to partner with Metro Parks on the development of a community garden here in the Mill Ridge development. So I'll let my colleague, Julia, tell you more about that.
Yeah, my name is Julia Thompson. I'm the production garden manager for the Nashville Food Project. And our vision for this site is a thriving community garden space on historic farmland, engaging diverse groups of people. So we have several different garden programs. One aspect of it will be community gardens, where we'll be providing access to land for people in the community to grow food. We see food as an important part of each of our cultural heritage. We have several New American gardens around town already, where we're working with refugee populations, giving them access to land to grow foods. And in community garden spaces, we're also providing education around growing food, both to community gardeners, but also to other interest groups. We're also working in all of our garden spaces on engaging volunteers in growing food that then is shared in our community. We're looking forward to partnering with the Friends of Mill Ridge group to bring people in that neighborhood, in that community, into the space to offer education around growing food. And that's our vision. Thanks.
So the staff, put that in staff, I don't know if y'all want to discuss it.
Is there any questions for the project? So we have a motion for a one-year permit?
I make a motion.
We have a motion, a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
Not to interrupt you, but one, they did come to us originally with a longer-term proposal that they want to be on the land a little further based on their commitment to improvements, and that is not what we're considering at this time, but I did want to mention that that's the goal, is to have a longer-term relationship, a longer relationship. This is a one-year permit.
And then next year we can revisit
And then
maybe
we'll
for.
see how it goes, and
Okay.
then we'll be further based on it.
So we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. We look forward to your report next year. Moving to 11/18/06, Mr. Jared Williams, P.E., representing the Harpeth Valley Utilities District, request permission from the board for the following: a sewer easement to install a new sanitary sewer force main within the old Hicks Road roadbed greenway trail at Edwin Warner Park in order to replace an existing 12-inch cast iron sewer force main that is nearing its useful life and must be replaced. And secondly, an amendment to the existing sewer contract for the Warner Park Nature Center in order to abandon the existing wastewater service and replace with a new section of sewer which will continue to provide wastewater service to the Nature Center. Cindy, would you like to report on it?
We asked that be referred to the acquisition committee next month.
All right. Is there a motion for deferral? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is deferred. That is the end of new business. Now we'll move to special presentations. Greenways for Nashville to present annual update to the board.
Hello, technology is rolling and stuff. I'm Amy Cranover, the Executive Director of Greenways for Nashville. And Stephanie, our Communications and Outreach Coordinator, is out sick today, so we are pretending to get technology. We got it. So, thank you for having us here, and so who is Greenways for Nashville? We are a 501c3. We were organized in 1994. We're essentially a friends group of the Greenways and Open Space Division of Metro Parks. We are a staff of 4 who, Stephanie Schultz is with me today. She is our member and program events manager. Elizabeth has been with us, the dark-haired woman on the left. She is our communications and outreach coordinator. And we have Lisa Robertson as well, and she is our finance staff person who is very part-time. We also have a very highly engaged board of directors. Our president this year is Pete Wooden, and our vice president, just to make a note, is Ann Tidwell. Ann is also the chair of the Greenways and Open Space Commission. The 7, or I believe 8 now, citizen appointees to the Greenways and Open Space Commission are automatically on our board. And the other members of our board are citizen volunteers. We also have an ex officio relationship with Monique and, Director Odom, and Cindy Harrison, who is the director of Metro Greenways and Open Space Division within Metro Parks, and Cindy has a very active role on our board and on our executive committee. What we do, our mission is to create, preserve, and promote a system of greenways in Nashville and Davidson County. Create means for us raising capital for the actual construction of greenways. We also advocate with the for Metro capital funding for greenways. And we support Metro's efforts to obtain state and federal funding for greenways. Preserve. We preserve open space, help preserve open space by raising capital money for open space acquisitions. This image is Lytle Farms, which was acquired by Metro a couple of years ago, and Greenways for Nashville donors were an instrumental private fundraising support portion of those funds. So it came through. Greenways for Nashville. We preserve also comes in the form of easements On the greenways, the 87 plus miles of greenways, there are about 125 easements with private landowners when Metro does not own the land. In some cases, those landowners require a higher level of insurance than Metro is able to provide. So Greenways for Nashville carries insurance policies to give those landowners the insurance that it takes to make those deals happen. Lastly, we are often, or not often, occasionally involved in land banking, is what I call it. And we'll have a donor that would like to donate land to Metro Parks. They might need to do it in a very timely basis for tax purposes, a tax year. Greenways for Nashville in the past has accepted the land. We hold it until Metro can run it through your approval process and the council approval process. So we facilitate the land, the preservation of land in that fashion. Promote, pretty obvious, but Greenways for Nashville is very engaged in marketing, communications, engagement of volunteers, and outreach at community events. Because of the way this program works, we are talking about figures that were for the year that closed 2017. So I selected a few highlights. The forms that you have were the 990 for that period. In that period, Greenways for Nashville raised $85,000 for the future construction, towards the future construction of the 440 Browns Creek Greenway. Greenways for Nashville also raised almost $50,000 for the addition of amenities to greenways that include shelters, benches, water fountains. We spent $40,000 for the actual construction that year of a park course on the Richland Creek Greenway. $28,000 was raised to create the current greenways map, which you all probably have 3 or 4 copies at home and in your car, as well as the NashGR app. Those funds were raised in that period, and the actual map was released in July 2017. We've distributed almost 20,000, are getting ready to do another update and reprint of the map. Very popular. In that period, we accepted 9 acres of land along Mill Creek in a transaction that I described earlier that was held by Greenways for Nashville for almost a year, and then went through the process and was deeded over to Metro. Outreach highlights for that year included 1,700 annual newsletters. Those are ambassadors to the Greenway system. They inform the community of what is coming, what has been accomplished, and they are very popular. It's an annual newsletter. We had 458, it's sold out the last 4 or 5 years, attend the 2016 Dinner on the Bridge fundraiser, but more a friend raiser. It is an incredible source of energy and enthusiasm, and it is a very, very high demand event. We had almost 350 runners participate in the 5-mile run on the Richland Creek Greenway that benefits Greenways for Nashville. Again, yes, we do make money on that event, but it is much about getting the community out in a friend raiser. We had an event that year that hosted 55 VIPs, an evening on the Greenways, which was to showcase the Rolling Mill Hill Greenway that was new at that time. Looking ahead, this is ahead now from current. Fast forward, we have been worked very closely with Cindy Harrison, the director of the Greenways and Open Space Division, on a branding of the inner loops, now called, which you all approved, the City Central Greenway System. About a third of it is already built. Greenways for Nashville is enthusiastic about seeing some progress made on that loop, as well as in the outlying areas. We feel like this is a place where we can bring in some private partnerships and some private funding. Very specifically on the City Central Greenway system, the purple line, which is a connection between where we are today, where the 440 Greenway that just opened up, one trailhead, the purple line taking us down to, or taking users down to the Gulch Greenway near Capitol View. That is a segment that we are enthusiastically pursuing, in that Greenways for Nashville has recently raised significant funds from the Frist Foundation to do a feasibility study that will be directed by the Greenways and Open Space Division, will give us some sense for the cost of completing that segment. This is just some neat pictures I wanted to share with you about that segment. Again, this was just a preview we did with the Cheatham County Rail Authority. Gave us a ride on the rails, low-use rail line, and you can see, although it goes through and towards the heart of town, there is considerable amount of greenway on it. To stay in touch, the park board is already, whether they like it or not, on our email distribution list, and you receive our monthly newsletters, but we invite you to engage in social media and certainly check our website. We're constantly enhancing it with developments that the Parks Department makes in Greenways. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you for that report. All right, the next special presentation, the Friends at Afama Archaeological Park, to present annual update to the board. Mr. Ridley Wills.
Well, I hate to disappoint y'all. I don't have a great PowerPoint presentation. I'm the chair of Atafama, Friends of Atafama, and in case you don't know, it's one of Nashville's newest parks. We're an archaeological park. We're the largest intact archaeologically Native American village known to exist in Davidson County. And at this point, we have about $305,000 in the bank. We have, since this is our first come to y'all, we didn't exist last year. So over the course of the year, we have applied for a grant from the local Parks and Recreation Fund from the state of Tennessee. It was a 1,000-page document that Monique and Tim are very aware of, and we got $500,000 grant.
Wow.
And so, like, yes, okay, all right. So nothing could be done on the park until we got the grant, because you can't have improvements on the park. So now we've got the grant. It officially happened in February or so this year. So the Friends of has, just at our last board meeting, we have hired Hodgson and Douglas to complete the master plan and pay for the master plan, so that when we get the money, we're able to go. You've got to build it out in 2 years. It will be built out. The part that's going to be built out is going to be the parking, grading, all the site work for the whole park, the initial walkway, a big field, and signage. In addition to that, with our monies, not park monies, we're going to be building a palisade wall abstract across 5 feet away from where the palisade wall is. It was part of the master plan, and we're going to be building out a website so that basically people are going to know about this park mainly from driving by it at the corner of Hillsborough and Old Hickory more than they're going to even go to it. And so we want them to drive by and go, well, what is that? You know, and it's like the name, Atafama. Why would they name it that? And I'm like, because it's the first park, Anyway, so that's what's going on. You're welcome to ask any question.
It's amazing. It's amazing what y'all have done. I remember coming to the first meeting at where was it? It was at Forest Hills, at the office there.
Right.
You've come a long way. It's impressive, really.
So I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for.
It's a great update.
So Ridley, if we go there now,
right, it's just cleared land right now, and so it will start once we get that grant. We have a 2-year time frame to build it.
Remind me how much land it is. I can't remember.
13 acres. Yeah.
Will you abut the church property coming?
The Baptist across the street.
No.
The church.
The Jewish church that is
temple.
Synagogue, Micah.
You will abut that property.
Yes, and they are allowing, like, for example, if school children want to come, we've got a whole plan they'll allow the buses to come in on that side.
On that side, okay.
It's very ecumenical. We got Presbyterians, Baptists, Church of Christ.
Well, thank you so much. It's great.
Thank you.
Appreciate the update. Capital projects update.
Okay, I'll just hit on things that have changed since last month, and you all have this.
Everyone has a sheet, right?
Capitol View Park, for which you just approved the grant application, that at least the greenway portion of that project is under construction currently, so that's moving forward. At Fort Negley, the cultural landscape plan, which has been a partnership between Metro Parks and the Metro Historical Commission, is now complete in draft form, so we should wrap that up hopefully by the end of this month with a final report. Goodlettsville Park, that at long last is under construction. They're actually paving the new trail on that site currently. At Jefferson Street Park, design is ongoing, but we've been working very closely with the Metro Historical Commission, which has funded a public art consultant to do a series of public events and public engagement to come up with essentially the public art plan for that site. So you may hear some things about that. They're calling it #Repair750 because 750 people were displaced by the construction of Interstate 40, which immediately abuts the site. Mill Ridge Park, I think since we last spoke, the Metro Council approved Mayor Briley's capital spending plan, so we now know that our budget for Phase 1 is $12 million. So we're moving forward with design on that. Oakwood Park, there will be an opening event, and I bet that's on Jackie's list, so I won't mention it. Percy Warner Park, Page Road parking lot. This is that grass lot across from the Belmead Gates with whom we've been working with the Friends Group and with City of Belmead for a long time to try to solve the parking issues there. Construction of that parking lot is currently underway. So we are putting up some signage and doing some additional communication and PR to try to encourage people to park at other trailheads in the park during this construction phase.
And when that's finished, how many will that allow to be parked in there?
I want to say 25 spaces. Ravenwood, same thing on the capital spending plan there, $12 million. So we're moving forward with design on that. At Tony Rose Park, construction is currently underway. That was part of the agreement with Panattoni Development for improvements to that park. And then at Wharf Park, we're in the middle of a master plan consultant selection process. We received 17 proposals for that, which is a record since I've been at Metro Park. So a lot of interest from design firms on that, and before the end of the year, hopefully we can award a contract on that.
Would you hit on Goodlettsville Park?
Goodlettsville. So that is under construction. That's on Mansker Creek. And it will include a paved walking trail, loop, playground, picnic shelter, parking, and landscaping. So that will be a new park. That's on land where we have a long-term lease from the city of Goodlettsville.
And I'm sorry, Terry was talking to me. Did you say when the Jefferson Street Park meetings were, the next one?
We have not scheduled any more meetings from the Parks Department. Mm-hmm. The Arts Commission is in the process of identifying dates for the Repair 750 meetings. And as I understand it, that's going to be a series of both stakeholder meetings mm-hmm. with, FISC, TSU, other institutions in the neighborhood, and general public meetings.
Thank you. Next time.
That's it.
All right. Thank you. Jackie, upcoming special activities and events?
Yeah, so I get to talk about all the good stuff. I guess you could make an argument for it's all good, but I particularly like the ones that I have to do. So this is the shortest list that you all have had, but nevertheless, we've still got a lot going on in Metro Parks, as you can see. With the first event coming up at noon on Saturday, it's the dedication of the Proctor, the historic Proctor barn. Some of you all know that as Pinky's Barn. So that gets underway. I think it goes from noon to 2 p.m., if I'm not mistaken, on Saturday at Beeman Park. Then Tim mentioned the Oakwood Park. On the 17th, from 11 to 1 p.m., we have the Oakwood Park block party and ribbon cutting. And the ribbon cutting is to celebrate the renovations and the upgrades going on in that park. Then on the 30th of November, we have actually two things going on. The Mini Nutcracker, which is a holiday tradition, is put on by our Metro Dance Department. That goes on from November 30th through December 2nd. It's at Harpeth Hall School. And then on the 30th at 6 p.m., we have the Bayer's Christmas tree lighting at Public Square Park. We're still looking for a Christmas tree. We're looking for a 30 to 40-foot Norway spruce. So if anyone knows anyone who wants to get a 30 to 40-foot Norway spruce out of their yard, give us a call. We're still looking. And then the very last thing I want to tell you about comes up on November 16th. And for the last couple of years, I've always told you guys about the annual holiday show and reception at the Centennial Arts Center, and what a great event it is, because we have our instructors as well as our students offer their art and artistry for sale. So today I thought I'd do something just a little bit different, so bear with me. I've asked Josh Wagner, who is over the Centennial Arts Center, to come and do sort of a show and tell and give you a feel for what's actually on sale and will be on sale for the holiday season. Yes, you stand at the podium.
So the sale will take place from November 16th, opening night. We'll do a reception with the community from 5 to 8 p.m. But I'm just going to put a few things and you can just kind of pass them around, okay? But we have some watercolor, handmade stationery that will be there. We do, of course, we teach 28 classes a week in drawing, painting, printmaking, pottery, and sculpture. So we invite all of our students to come and showcase their work and sell some of their work for the holidays. I'm going to give this to Jackie and we'll pass them around. This is one of our pottery students who's making some pendants and jewelry. Our instructors will be showing some of their work. We have just an example. I couldn't bring large paintings today, but I brought a couple smaller ones by our students and staff. And then there'll be pretty wide selections of pottery. So they make great holiday gifts. And one of the reasons it's so special is when we have new students that come and they're just learning a new craft or trying to dredge up their talent or really increase their quality of life in the arts. Most of them have never, I made that bowl. I mean, that's okay, shameless self-promotion. But it really gives most of our students an opportunity to show their artwork for the very first time in a gallery setting. And so it's a really special event because they can bring their family and friends in and see their work displayed on a gallery wall and just really celebrate the community that we build every day at Centennial Arts Center. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
It's a great show.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We done?
We are done.
Department updates. I think Jim has one today.
Hey, so, take every chance I can to talk about the naturalists. We've got national caliber, professionally recognized, award-winning naturalist center, nature centers, and this is another point in that crown. I asked Bill Troop, the superintendent of nature centers and natural areas, to tell you more about the award that one of our naturalists has won.
Thanks. Thanks for the opportunity to sort of show off some of our team members. Lynn, come on up, please. Embarrass you in front of everybody. Last month, the board of directors of the local nonprofit conservation group, the Bells Bend Conservation Corridor, presented their first ever Friend of the Bend Award. And the recipient was our own Lynn Ann Welch. And Lynn Ann was recognized for her work in preserving and conserving the Bells Bend Park area, the Bells Bend of the Cumberland, the entire area, and her work as a naturalist and resource manager. She's been a manager for us for 10 years now over the Bells Bend Outdoor Center and the Beaman Park Nature Center. So she's done double duty for a long time with us. And prior to that, she was with Tennessee State Parks for 16 years as a naturalist and resource manager. She has a long history of working in conservation and environmental education. We worked together 25 years ago at State Parks. We've known each other a very long time. She's a very dedicated naturalist, a great manager. She's one of those team members who quietly goes about taking care of our parks, taking care of our people, taking care of our visitors, and being a great team player. She's also an archaeologist on the side. She actually did some work on the Atafamba site back in the day. Like I said, she's a great team player, but if you ever hear of a Metro Parks employee being in front of a bulldozer stopping something to protect the park, it's probably going to be her. So everybody, this is Lane Ann Welch.
Congratulations. All right. Any other updates from departments? Moving to the report. Before we get to the report of the director, I just want to mention, I asked Kix Brooks, who's been instrumental and was instrumental in helping save Fort Negley, and he and I, Monique, have been talking about an advisory committee for that project. I think the RFP for the deconstruction of Greer Stadium is out. Is it maybe it's the deadline is okay. So we should hear soon of when that should be. Do you have any time frame, do you think? Anybody? Rick?
We had a site meeting last week.
I mean, maybe the next couple months?
And the timeline is, I think, early December for everything to be.
Yeah. So we can deconstruct Greer, and at the same time, we're going to announce an advisory committee to oversee in the whole planning process for Greer Stadium. I'm sorry, for Fort Negley Park. So I'll announce all the names at the next meeting. So Kix has stepped up and has really taken on this in a very passionate way, which is really great. So we appreciate that. I wanted to mention that before the director's report.
Thank you. Just to mention a couple of things, we've continued our tradition of working with other Metro departments, and this year we will open and serve as a cold weather shelter. We moved the location to Shelby Park, which is a neighborhood center, and that center is not open on the weekends. As you may recall, in the past it's been at East and Hadley and alternating those. We did have some challenges because those two centers are primary revenue producers, and so they have reservations a lot on the weekend, and so we would have to displace people who were planning events, and so we decided to move to and explore. Probably late last year, we started talking with Metro Social Services about looking at alternate locations and what amenities would need to be in place to move to another location. So Shelby Community Center will be the cold weather shelter. It is the shelter of last resort for those experiencing homelessness. It will activate at 28 degrees. I have heard that we are expecting 19 days of 28-degree weather or below, start sometime in January. We are prepared. The Sheriff's Department, the Mental Health Cooperative, Social Services, our park staff also participate. I will also say that this is not something that we budget for. This is another instance where, we are a team player to help those of our neighbors who are without permanent shelter, but it is a heavy lift for our department. It is overtime and additional resources. So, just FYI.
May I ask a question about that?
Sure.
I heard from one of our nonprofits that serves the population of people experiencing homelessness that maybe they're going to allow pets. They were very excited about this. I was curious.
Thank you very much. Who's that laughing? Steve. Yes, we will be allowing pets in the shelter. Understandably, pets are a lot of times considered a part of people's families. So we actually met last week to walk through logistics at the center of how we can do that and where we would do that at the center. And Metro Social Services will provide kennels, and we have kind of outlined a procedure to do that. So yes.
Well, I think that's being well received.
Good. Additionally, we have started to have bi-weekly meetings with the procurement division, of Metro Finance to really to keep projects on track and make sure we are on the same page with requirements from our department, and kind of doing what we need to do in terms of making sure appropriate contracts are in place. If they're ending, being timely with those. We're not the only department that does that, but when the offer was set forth, I thought we needed to do that, especially since we do a lot of capital projects, a lot of ordering for, all of our programs and services. So we will continue to meet with the procurement division on a bi-weekly basis, and the cast of characters that are in those meetings will likely change depending on what we have pending in the queue at procurement. That's all I have.
All right. Any announcements, future agenda items?
I just wanted to congratulate Director Odom on all of the announcements of awards that were sent out by email. And let's see, there were lots of state awards from your employees, and congratulations for...
Well, thank you so much. I will thank you, but the people deserve those staff and team members who were awarded those, and the projects as well. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because Councilman Jeff Syracuse is planning to acknowledge folks who got awards and are in new positions at the TRPA. He's going to do that, I think, on December 18th at a council meeting. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Anything else? Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.org.